Oh, hi there. Ollie Anderson here. You're listening to Creative Status. If you don't know, this is a podcast about using the creative process as a vehicle for becoming more real. My job, if you want to call it a job, is coaching, and I'm also an author, and I help people to become more real in either life or business. Being more real in this context just means that they are moving towards wholeness, whatever that means to them. That doesn't mean that we can just cherry pick anything, because wholeness ultimately comes with the feeling of expansion, of growth, of flow. And it means that we're not forcing life through the conceptual bullshit, basically, that we've picked up and been conditioned with by the world. Today's interview is with a guy called Michaell Magrutsche. He is a very interesting guy. He's an author, he's a podcaster, he's an artist. And one of the things that he's really interested in is how the systems that we build, aka the world, which is another way of describing these systems, how the systems that we build either allow us to be real or to be unreal. Now, this conversation is probably a very good example of a dialogue more than just a debate or a discussion. We didn't agree with each other at all times. It was a little bit cagey, shall we say, at times, but it was a really amazing conversation. And towards the end of it, we kind of came into some kind of synthesis of our ideas, and we sort of came to an agreement, I think. Either way, there's tons of insight in here. I had a really good time going through this process with Michaell, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to it. Michaell, thank you so much for your time. Everybody else, thanks for listening. And if you enjoy the show, please leave a review somewhere or send me a DM about future guests. If you want to be a guest yourself as well, you can put yourself forward. We can have a quick conversation. Either way, thank you so much, and here we go. Oh, hi there, Michaell. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Creative Status. We have had some very philosophical explorations already in our short time together here on planet Earth. Before we expand upon all this stuff that we've been talking about here on the podcast, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people who you are, obviously, but also what you're all about, what you do, and what you want to get from this conversation that we're about to dive into?
Hi, Ollie. My name is Michaell Magrutsche. I was born in Vienna, Austria, and I was a sick child, and then went to school and hit the wall because I was neurodiverse. I have dyslexia and dysgraphia. And then when I was 30, because art always saved me, it brought me always to the life is worth living. Mm-hmm. And I am not educated because I had to repeat 3 grades, and I just couldn't. I'm still very neurodiverse. And I want to say that as a background, that people don't freak out. If I don't have a degree, I'm nothing in this system. Mm-hmm. So I have 0 education. I'm totally self-taught. Yep. And I still, with all that stuff, I still worked with Robert Evans, who did The Godfather, co-produced with him. Was City Arts Commission of Newport Beach. I wrote 5 books. So I can't read books, but I can write them. So that's basically what I'm all about. So what I found by not fitting into systems is what interests you. Yeah. And I'm also in the arts, and I'm actually, my systemic explanation of what I do is multidisciplinary artist plus creativity awareness educator. Wow. So I basically don't have steps to tell you or what to do. You just listen to this program and you make up your own mind. Wow. I believe in that.
Okay. So just so people kind of understand what you actually do on a kind of day-to-day basis, what is it that you are, currently doing as a vocation or a calling or a job, whatever you want to call it? When you say that you're self-taught, what are you, like a self-taught what?
I don't understand the question.
You, basically, what do you do for a living? Like, what you said, you're self-taught, you don't have an education, all this kind of stuff. What did you, as an autodidact or whatever, what did you teach yourself to do?
So obviously, there's nothing to do with systems, but I am in the system of restaurant, hospitality, guest relationships.
Yep.
Meaning, whoever hires me, make sure I am the representation of the house.
Okay,
So
brilliant.
I represent the house, the hotel, the restaurant, whatever.
Yep.
And in this, I actually consult, and also I learn. And it's all about human business. It's all, and human business, I have no problems. I'm like a master in dancing with humans.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's actually going to be the main theme of this conversation, I think. Human business. So I'm just
Yep.
going to dive right into it. So a lot of your work in your books and all these kind of things is about systems and the way that our creativity as a species has caused us to build systems that are not necessarily the best systems for human beings and human nature. Now, this is something that I'm really interested in as well. So one of my books, Personal Revolutions, is basically about this idea that the world and reality are separate things. But the problem is that a lot of the time human beings take the world, which is just something that human beings have designed based on all of their assumptions and emotional stuff and blah, 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 something that human beings have designed as a response to reality. We take that at face value and we treat it as being something that's true. And that causes all kinds of problems. So just to get the conversation going, I guess, how do you see that gap between the world and reality, if there is one? And I know that's a huge question, but just take it.
No, it's not a quiz. Not for me. I have no, not at all. But because I can't tell you linearly what happened.
Okay.
Linearly, so basically, we after generation of system conditioning. So what is a system? A system is a bigger thing than a tribe. A tribe is still organic. It's probably, they say the best system is a tribe is 150. That is scientifically proven. I don't know if that's true, but that's everybody comes to the same conclusion. Where it's most efficient, and nature is all about efficiency. So the most efficiency is parts of 150 people. You have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have all these people in there, and they treat themselves well. When we created systems, when a tribe became too big, because we had DNA driven to procreate till 28, I think we are driven. We're not wanting kids, but we feel we wanting kids, and so we do that, and then also we have DNA driven, which is, I tell you, this is all what science is, but I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But it makes sense. So DNA driven also that we are inclusive. So if I want to see my power by myself, I can't see it. Very hard to see. If I interact with you, you are a reflection of my power, and I'm a reflection of your power. So, so that just that people, you know what, you want to see power. It's not $1 billion. That is manipulation. That is system manipulation. But you want to see power. That's like, like JFK. It's things they have, and it's humans reacting to you. It's Churchill. It's even though he was system relevant, these people, but there was more than it was the human person. The human, if the person is good or bad, if you judge Churchill is good or bad or JFK, it doesn't matter. But the response of humanity, that's why they were so powerful. They were not just powerful in a system. They just could, they could dance with human. Let's say that. Okay. So I don't think that's a good or bad. It's just they could dance with that. You could, you can be a cult leader, and that doesn't help. So anyway, so we are driven to that. So that was the first thing. What we misunderstand over generations, once we created those systems have always, by the way, I want to make that point clear. I'm not against system at all. Systems are always good because they have good intentions at the beginning. But the reason why systems get out of hand is every system is not created by nature, it's created by man-made systems are created by us. And they are creations by us. And all systems are based on financial principles. Otherwise, they can't self-sustain. Humans can self-sustain. They go into nature, they pick something, they eat something, they're creative and get a habitat or whatever. Live in a cave and then come out and build a house. It's just we have the creativity to create our habitat, but that doesn't mean it is our habitat. So we create basically shelter, but that's not our habitat. Our habitat is nature, and we are not more than another species of nature. And I told you that before. The eagle sees really well. The dolphin swims really well. We have that. Our distinction is that we can, be self-aware, and that we can create. In this self-awareness, we need that self-awareness to create. And we are limitless creator. But an ant is a limitless whatever, and an elephant is a limitless whatever. So everybody has a specific function in nature. And we forgot that because we got the symptoms. What is the shiny object syndrome?
Yeah. Do you think?
So?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So, do you think that these days there's a lot of kind of discontent? There's kind of an understatement. Everyone seems to think that the world has gone mad, that resources are running out, that politics is more divided than ever before, that there's more depression, there's more anxiety, that men are not men, women are not women. Nobody really knows what it means to be human or any of this stuff. People are just so confused more than ever before, it seems. Obviously, I haven't been alive at any other time in human history, but that's how it seems. People are just complaining all the time. Is that a symptom of this kind of thing that you're talking about? Or is it?
Yeah, there's a system. There's a symptom of believing that system is our habitat. Oh, actually, nobody would ever say, I'm a child of a system, because systems don't create humans. But when have you last heard that we are a species of nature? Because it's kind of degrading to humans. That's an ego shit.
Yeah.
How can nature? We haven't even figured out how water comes up a tree 100 yards. We haven't figured it out. I mean, science hasn't replicated. We would replicate that. We haven't.
Yeah.
So how could you say? Okay, that because we are using nature, abusing nature without knowing. Because system always needs financial principles, and these also financial principles are short term. So we exploit nature. That's not a bad thing. It's just a dumb thing. So I think making anything bad or good, there is no bad or good. We're doing things that don't work. And we want to say the arrogance to say we have to save nature. In that, for all the people that want to save nature, there is such an arrogance in it, and or an absolutely non-awareness.
Yeah.
Because if you're aware, if we were aware, we would exploit nature, but we would save that part of nature that is responsible for our survival.
Go ahead. So let's take it back to what you just said about the financial principles basically been the main motivation for these unreal, unnatural systems that we build. So obviously, one of the main values, we could say, of the capitalistic system we have that's caused a lot of problems is profit for the sake of profit. Let's just say for the sake of simplicity. And that causes organizations to keep plowing forward no matter what, for their staff to be kind of dehumanized, for people to spend their whole lives working in jobs that they can't stand, and then they retire for a few years and drop dead. That ultimately is fueled by these kind of financial principles that you seem to be referring to, if I understand you right. What is it though that has caused us to want to believe in these financial principles more than nature or reality in itself? Because ultimately the system is a choice, isn't it? So why have we chosen the unreal stuff more than the real stuff, do you think?
It it comes slowly. The most wonderful thing is the financial system. What a great innovation.
Mm.
See, I'm a fan of initial systems. I'm not a fan where the systems goes once we get used to them. Because we just get numb and say, okay, that's how it is. And also, I need to really say that on the other side of systems are humans that also have to feed their 5 kids.
Yeah.
So it's not the 5 kids that are hit by the system and don't get health care. It's also the 5 kids that have to create a system that whatever they do their job, whatever their leader says. There's a new prime minister and he gets a new tax system. And trust me, those are not rich people that make the new tax systems. Those are hard workers that are just having a great ability to work with numbers. They create a new tax system and they say, well, what are you going? Okay, we do it this way. And you got to see the big picture of that, the contextual thing, that on one side we waste our life force to create a tax system. On the other way, we use our life force to circumvent the tax system. I mean, more life energy wasted cannot be. This is insane. Yeah. And the problem is you can't blame anybody. You can't blame systems. You can't blame other people. You can't blame. It's an awareness thing. If nobody goes to war, there is no war. It is a consciousness thing. It's nobody to blame, because blame is just propelling the shit we're in.
Yeah.
So if you blame Tony Blair or whatever, you blame anybody for any of all your futures and all whatever happens now, or Boris or whatever, it's not helping. You feel in the second better. That's systemic too. You feel in the second then because you vent your frustration. But then really it's a short-term system thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. You lack awareness, and awareness is to see the whole. You need to with the whole.
Yeah, 100% agree. So I think the answer to the question I was kind of just asking about, why have we chosen this system, is exactly what you just said. Is because we have chosen it unconsciously. A few minutes ago, you said basically it's all ego shit, right? Ultimately, the ego is just the opposite of reality. That's how I see it. And the ego is just living in an unconscious way instead of a conscious way, where you have awareness of wholeness, basically. Reality is wholeness. The ego is fragmentation. And when people are running, when people are operating on autopilot, they end up in the ego, and then they create all of these fragmented systems that we now have. And so the solution, if there is one, is for people to start raising awareness of themselves and their connection to wholeness, and to start building systems around that knowing, rather than all the conceptual knowledge that is currently informing the systems that we've got. The problem is, you can't have any kind of a movement. You can't have any kind of a cause. You can't have any kind of a religion or dogma or any of that stuff. It's just something that people can do individually, one-on-one, because it's about our relationship with life itself. And that's where things get complicated. So to throw you a curveball, maybe, what could a system look like, maybe, that was aligned with nature, but that was, I suppose, life enhancing in the way that we're talking about, where it's allowing people to find a connection to wholeness and then do something with that collectively as well as individually, if that's even possible. I don't know if
that is possible. Of course it is. It's everything is possible. We can imagine it. We can put in reality. And this is my next book. The one that I finished right now is about systems, what we're talking right now. But the next one is about solutions. How we can create a system that is not system adapt, but it is so the system keeps being static keeps being alive statically. But the humanists adapt systems that are humanist adapt that constantly, that have safety measures in. For example, that a disturbed human being that for whatever luck or whatever reason comes into the system, takes the system over, and creates a war. So that we need to create systems. Systems are great, but first of all, comes the awareness. So for example, you asked me about the financial system. Financial system is great. You have a chicken. I have a hammer. Neither from us needs a chicken or a hammer. I can use money. What a brilliant thing to sell my chicken or hammer, and then we can buy whatever we want to buy. That is brilliant. That is so creative. But when the system of money, which is another man-made system, makes money with itself from the system, meaning like AI, they think now we can systemize a human function. We have forgotten that people love their jobs. Some people do love their jobs. Now, other people hate their jobs. So now we hope that AI is the solution, that we love our jobs, but it is not. The job loving has nothing to do with the duties of the job. It's the awareness of how you do with him. I love to go to work every day. There's not a day I don't like to go to work, because I meet humans, I meet fresh humans, new humans, I have interaction. It doesn't matter if I feel sick or not. I love to go to work. That is not depending on the job. That is dependent on my perception of what I perceive in a job, and getting to the right job that where can I contribute to humanity, not where can I contribute to systems. And so in till 50, I hit the wall, till I found out, I'm neurodiverse and all this stuff. So what am I good at? Art. And art creating, art understanding, understanding the creation process, not the history, not the product, but the creation process. And I'm really good with humans. It took me freaking 50 years to get there, So because I was like everybody else, there's no exception, nobody's better, was system conditioned over generation, and my parents taught me that, taught me that crap. And so the awareness is first.
It always has to start with awareness. And I think that's where the creativity thing comes in. But I always think the next step after awareness is acceptance of ourselves, reality, and like what is possible in the world itself. But there is something in the current system that is blocking both of those steps. So normally for me, it goes awareness, acceptance, and action. So you get the awareness, then you accept what you need to accept. Then you can take actual action that is going to get you where you need to be. If the system allowed that to unfold as a natural process, then I think a lot more people would be happier, and they would be able to live lives where they're moving towards wholeness and they're doing all the kind of things that we're talking about. But because the world is not real, it's just a bunch of ideas, it's a bunch of fears, it's a bunch of assumptions. And because those assumptions and fears and all that stuff are informed by people's unreal relationships with themselves that they pick up from their parents and that they reinforce through self-hypnosis and all that kind of stuff, things just keep getting worse and worse. And even in the best possible scenarios for systems, like in pure capitalism, for example, which I love, it could be, you have an idea, you work really hard at it, you take personal responsibility, you do what you need to do, and then, you've created something of value for the market, so you transcend yourself in that process, blah, blah, blah. That's all awesome. The problem is the system always becomes corrupt when ego is involved. So, for example, bailing out the banks is kind of corruption in a way, depending on your definition. Nepotism and things like that. People don't allow the natural systems or the most possible natural systems to flow in the way that they could. There's always ego bullshit getting in the way. So how can we deal with that, do you think? If that even makes sense, what I'm saying.
No, Ali, it was really great what you said, because you're doing what everybody else does. You teeter-totter between systems and human relevance.
Mm.
You teeter-totter in that. And I think I found that myself out. Every problem that systems created cannot be fixed by systems. Mm. Every human problem that a system created or systems created, depression, mind stuff, anything,
you're right.
cannot create, do you think you can create racism that was created by systems? Genderism was created by systems. Sexual things was created by systems, religions. Do you think you can fix that with political correctness, Me Too, Lives Matter? Do you really? Who is in their mind? What the perception of that is what I see in this whole thing. What I just saw with you is people are so unaware that they blame the system. They think they believe that a system that got him in there to be racist in the first place, to put down women and say women aren't worth anything. Go behind the stove and cook for your man. They now have a system solution for a human. We are way too intricate humans. The systems that are so limited can fix us. That's the problem with systems. They are very limited. A doll is a doll. When you create it, you cannot ask the doll, hey, who should I marry? What stock should I invest? The doll cannot answer that. You can imagine it says that, but you can't. There is something about a living being that is godly. I'm not religious or anything, but it is above our comprehension. Otherwise, we crank out humans out of any old coal mines. You know what I mean? So there is something godly, and we have no respect for it. I mean, what you said, thank you for teeter-tottering, because this is giving us this conversation. It's our system. I guarantee you 90% of our problems would be gone tomorrow if I could wave a wand and say, be aware. Because with awareness, you don't need steps. You don't need linear steps. First I gotta do this, then I gotta do this. No. It just shifts. You just change. And that is the key, to separate system relevance or dynamics to human relevance and dynamics. And where's your problem coming? You have not a problem. You make it a human problem because you should have shelter and food. Every human should have that because that's by nature given. You live. Every animal in nature has. I mean, if we don't screw it up. Every animal in nature has food, has shelter, knows how to protect themselves. Everybody should have that. But because financial principles, which is a great system, again, makes imbalance. And so we're using our third superpower of adaptability. We use that third superpower of adaptability to adapt to a system, and that's where it breaks down. Instead of using adaptability and say, okay, it starts raining, I'm gonna go and get a shelter. We buy something, or we do something, and then it rains, and then it's too much water, and we don't know what to do. We forgot that. I mean, how to engage with somebody. Yeah. Do you know that the dating industry? I'm just telling you, they found out. We have like 15 years dating industry, a $2 billion industry. That's a human thing. You just go to another person and befriend them, right? Yeah. Now we pay for that. We pay for human function because the system needs to work, and then it makes it easier, and it makes it easier to not use. The system will do it's not a bad thing. I don't want to talk it is like a person. We have been become unconscious that, because on the other side of the system say, okay, how can I make that easier to date through an app? How can I get that better? And now everybody dates, and now they find out that the dating, the system show you only the one that work and not the one that don't work. Like in everything, they talk about Elon Musk, they talk about Jeff Bezos, they talk about the viral videos, and there's only 1%, a half of 1% are those icons that we follow. So now the people found out, you know what? I've dated, the younger generations have dated 10 years on an app. I don't know how to engage anybody. And if I do, I get a Black Lives Matter, Me Too. I take a risk to be human.
Wow. Yeah. That's ultimately what
you see that? Well. You see, that's an awareness thing.
Yeah. But the only thing you can be aware of is reality, ultimately, right? And the only thing you can accept is reality. And when you can get to that stage...
Well, what is reality? What is reality? I don't understand. What is reality?
Reality is just wholeness. It's wholeness. It is what it is. It doesn't change. All of this...
Oh, you mean the effect on your life. So whatever is. Okay, so... this is, do you accept it? You don't judge it. You don't react.
You can't judge it. Yeah. It's beyond judgment, beyond duality, all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, that comes down to chaos. That's basically it, right? Reality is way beyond our fragmented understanding, our conceptual understanding. And that understanding is what informs the systems that we build. Because ultimately we're afraid of chaos. We're afraid to go into the unknown. We're afraid that, things might go wrong. We have scarcity mindsets. We think we're going to run out of food or resources, whatever it is. And so because of all that, we build these systems of kind of false order in order to kind of protect ourselves from all of the uncomfortable feelings that come from that. And actually what you were saying about problems a few minutes ago is totally true. Most problems can only exist within the context of the system or within the world or within the ego, because the ego, like I've said earlier on, is the opposite of reality. It's the opposite of wholeness. And actually, because wholeness, like we just said, reality is beyond good and bad. It's beyond duality and all that stuff. There are actually zero problems in reality. And so our ego and the world, or egos in the world, they ultimately keep us in a state of perceiving problems that don't need to exist. And that's when you get all these extra problems emerging, like all the things you said, like the gender stuff and identity stuff and racism and blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff exists within the system for two reasons, I think. One, because people are afraid of chaos, so they latch onto very controlled senses of identity to keep their emotional stuff at bay. But also, it basically keeps people in a state where they're fighting over limited perceptions of power. Ultimately, in the systems that we create, power becomes a limited resource. Instead of people just having the abundance of power that they have in reality itself, if that makes sense. And so all of these little battles, these power struggles are what leads to a lot of this stuff that we're seeing, I think.
No. You are completely, I wouldn't say anything wrong. I'm saying you're still teeter-tottering between system and human. So you see that as instead of saying, hey, we created it, we can uncreate it. We're the gods of system. There's nobody, and the ego is, the system obviously has conditioned over generation our ego. Our ego is not a bad thing. You know who you are. I can say, oh, Ollie, you're an idiot. But you know who you are. I am, there's two people that are not much in their ego anymore. They have harnessed their ego. Obviously, I can get in the ego anytime, but I know that. And you can know that too. So ego is basically a thing that is amplified through system lies. You wouldn't be an ego if you're aware.
Mm-hmm.
People that are unaware are in an ego, meaning when you get fed,
Exactly.
when you get fed by the system through other humans because they need to make money, that it should be sunny every day. If it is not, we sell you a Ferrari, a pill, or a face job. I always say that same example because I want that to get in our vernacular. That's a lie. Because everything is constantly changing. That's not spiritual. That is, we constantly change. When you have a partner, if we will have this conversation is different than we had when we had the other conversation. So we constantly change. We constantly get more aware. Even in prison, you change if you want or not. And you die every night when you sleep. And then you awake again. So when people change, it can't be sunny every day, because when you grow, which is the instinct that humans have, even if they get a sickness, if they go be on the street, that is a way of growing that your spirit needs or your awareness needs, whatever that is. You hit reality. You hit other people that are also growing. So it's never safe. Life is never safe. The only safe is being now with you right now. I don't care if I have to pay bills. I don't care if I have to feed the dog. I have another meeting in 2 hours. I don't care about that. I could go into that mind construct, but then I'm lost of the moment. And when I'm lost of the moment, I go into ego. Because I think about future and past, and that's a mind construct. The mind cannot save you. That is another thing. Is that, we make you mindful. We make you the coaching. God, look at this. No, we can't. Well, because that's a mind construct. What is this person? When I look at you first as it's an English guy. If you're a woman, it's he's a woman, she's a woman, or she's another race than I am. That's how we start navigating. Instead of, this is another human, this is me, let's see what we do. Like in podcasts, that's why I think podcasts are so wonderful, because you never knew that person before, and you prove to the world that people that don't know each other can make immense, you don't have to have the best friend to have a good conversation. You can have a conversation like this one, that we don't know each other. It's just, and we're making something great out of it. And the financial principles is one thing we need to be aware of. So not everybody can be Elon Musk. Elon Musk is one of one. There's 8 billion people on this earth. Everybody has a different fingerprint. Everybody has a different iris. Everybody has a different DNA. So there is no normal. But for some reason, because we're adaptable, we think there is a normal. No system ever saying what is to be a normal co-worker. What is it to be a normal CEO? Nobody can say that. They always say what you can't do, but they never say what it is.
Yeah.
So it's confusing there too. So and this is the second line. That is if I can do it, you can do it. Such a bullshit I've never heard. I've never heard a bigger bullshit than this. Because my neurodiversity, I'm not the victim or anything. I just don't fit into the system that way, because I'm on the bell curve, on the tails of a bell curve, that I'm flawed. Nature doesn't make mistakes. You have life. That's the proof that you're worthy. You don't need to think about God or anything else. You have life in nature. You're worthy. Not you're better. You don't have system value. You're not better, worse. You're worthy. And that's all you need to just fit your puzzle piece in humanity, not in systems. I'm important because I've kind of found my puzzle piece but it took me so long, yeah. In humanity, I don't care if I fit into the system or not. Doesn't matter. I have to abide by the system, by laws and whatever, but I don't mind fitting into the system.
The question is, how do we build systems that are human shaped. So we actually need both. So it's a false dichotomy to say, right, it's either reality or the world. We need a world that is supportive of human nature and reality. So that means it understands this gap between the ego or the mental constructs that we have and how that seems to operate. So for brevity, we can say that the ego is just the illusion of stasis. It's the illusion that things stay the same, that reality doesn't keep moving. It's the illusion that we can control everything. It's the illusion that order is the natural state rather than chaos and all these things. And when we build a system around that, because of our own fears and everything, that's when we actually end up with an unreal world. But that doesn't mean that all systems by default have to be unreal. If the system is fluid, the system is flexible, the system embraces the ability that we have to adapt and all that kind of stuff, we can actually we won't need to teeter-totter or any of that stuff. We can build a system that is human shaped and that is life enhancing. And that means it understands or is based on assumptions that the ego is only ever a temporary thing. It's the best version of ourselves that we have come up with in order to survive whatever we've been through. But that doesn't mean it's who we actually are. And so the system doesn't need to reinforce egos. It can help people to kind of move beyond them and to transcend themselves. But that means probably having a certain set of values that encourages people to keep creating in healthy ways, to keep moving towards wholeness, to transcend themselves, to give instead of take, all these different things that it could entail. But it doesn't have to be one or the other. We could have systems ultimately that allow us to kind of replicate nature, maybe not 100%, but more closely than we are doing now.
One of the other doesn't exist in human. I just want to point that out to you. One or the other it's a system thing. There's 1 and 2, 1 and 0, right? It's not. That's a system that is a system definition. All is, there is no normal. There is not either or, because we're 8 billion people that are all different. So the delusion that we're all the same is another lie. We are not the same.
No. We're not all the same. That's obviously incorrect. But there are natural laws and principles that apply to all of us, no matter what. So yeah, maybe you might have purple hair and I might have blue hair, whatever.
Exactly.
You might like, I don't know, Woody Allen films or something, and I like watching action films. Like all of those contingent surface level details and the scenery of our lives is different, but the underlying structure of the human experience is the same for everyone.
Gravity.
Yeah.
Like gravity. We both have to the gravity. We both have to be aware. But see, if you're long enough in the system that we constantly changing.
But
I'm changing. I've probably changed 100 times in this conversation. You know what I mean?
Of course. But that constant change is one of the natural laws that we need to be aware of. And so if the current system is built on the idea that people don't really change after the age of 21 or whatever, that is a pure bullshit system. If we act like we're going to live forever and that property and things like that are more important than the time that we have, because time is the most precious thing we have, that is a bullshit system. If we forget the law of cause and effect,
system lie, it becomes a system lie.
You know? And so what I'm saying is, if we understand those natural laws and we have awareness of those things and we build a system around that, that is going to be the best approximation of a system that is human shaped. It's not an ego driven system. It's a system that is fluid and moves towards wholeness and all that kind of stuff, or is aligned with wholeness, rather than just being some response or reaction to life and chaos based on our inability to face it because we need our egos to stay the same. Something like that.
I would go away from the ego, because ego is something that is system amplified, and it's almost shaming ourselves as human that we have an ego. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we are unaware. It's all about unawareness. Because you can't blame Boris what he did.
You can't blame anybody.
You can't blame But you can't, because he's unaware. Because if he was aware, it wouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
So if I know, the 15 people were educated people, system people, decided over 11 million Jews to be killed. 15 people. Do you think they were aware?
No, they can't.
No, I'm just saying the more unaware you be, the more gruesome you are. Do you think the people say, I'm going into the war and I'm going to die? It's okay, because I have a system ideal that I have to do it for country. You don't even know that you do it for the people. So a warrior in a tribe is to make the tribe feel safe, to protect them from animals or whatever comes, That is a warrior. It's not a warrior to sacrifice your life. That is a completely system invented human, how humans is supposed to be in systems. That's why they're honored with medals, and everybody says on Veterans Day, But in really, don't you think this perverted? It's completely perverted, because nobody wants to shoot another father, that has 3 kids, and he doesn't even know. That is not in the human essence, and that's an unawareness. We get to get wacky in our brains, to do inhumane things because we believe over generation that is the right thing to do, and it's always we think that's the right thing to do.
It becomes down to how the system basically brainwashes us, I guess, into seeing certain things as being moral or immoral, and how we react to that. But I think there's an extra level. It's not just the system reinforcing the identity. That does play a massive part. The world's saying, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And it gets repeated over and over again. And of course, the system often wants people to be unaware because they're easier to control that way. And it goes.
I don't believe that. They are in a position where they make a lot of money. And they don't want to lose it. It's all fear-based. It's all fear-based. Let's say I'm going to redo healthcare, and I see I'm running out of money, and that affects my job. So I will do everything to survive. Survival, you always do self-survival. If you're pushed in a corner, the nicest person is an asshole, That becomes a beast. But the problem is that this imbalance of financial principles always gets money to the more, not from the asshole people, but by default. Where more money is, that's where money flows. It's also, you cannot play Monopoly without paper money. You cannot start playing the game. So when you are born in poverty, you have to do kind of a really strong hustle to make it. If you're born into wealth and privilege, you can do it. What determines wealth and privilege and poverty is the financial system. And the financial system is basically flawed. It's perfect, the example you and I said before, but it is flawed because it creates imbalance. And in nature, the most power is balance. Everything, nature always balances and harmonizes it out. Balance and harmony has no bearing on financial systems.
But what I was going to say is, there's the external stuff that comes from the world. Okay, that affects how people see themselves and what they decide to do and what they think is possible and blah, blah, blah. But there's that extra element of their relationship with themselves. So, for example, you could have 2 people that are born in poverty. One of them could be blaming Boris Johnson or Tony Blair or whoever the hell for their impoverished condition. The other one is going to take responsibility for themselves, basically, and say, right, it's up to me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. The person who is taking responsibility for their own life is pretty much guaranteed to make more progress than the person who's just blaming everybody. And the only difference really between them is their emotional relationship with themselves. So the first person who's blaming everyone, their emotional relationship ultimately is causing them to beat themselves up, to be sluggish, to think there's no hope and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can't blame them for being that way. But the other person who's taking more responsibility is more likely to be able to change things in the system for themselves. And the only difference between them really is the choice between unreal and real. If you're blaming everybody, like we said, you're getting caught up in the illusion of duality and value judgments and blah, blah,
I understand.
blah. Yeah. And if you're taking the other approach, well, you've been a bit more real. You're saying, right, this is the situation. I'm aware of it. I accept it. This is what I'm going to try and do. And so it's not just the system. It's like our relationship with ourselves. If the ego is involved, I know we see the ego differently, but if the ego is involved, there is another system inside ourselves that we have to fight. And it's not purely, externally sourced. It's basically our internal emotional stuff. So shame, guilt, trauma, all those kind of things, they're affecting how we even get started in the first place.
Exactly. So very good that you said that last sentence, because it is not given that you have the choice. You have the choice, but you're not aware that you have the choice.
Yeah.
So the psychology 101 teaches that there were two sons of an alcoholic, and the one is the total copy of the father. The other one is the one of the greatest lawyers in New York. And I said, why are you, why are you the way you are? Well, look at your brother. And they say, because, and both say the same answer, because my father was an alcoholic. It is, I had no choice. My father was an alcoholic. So what I'm saying is that we need the unawareness of the people, because there's a lot of people that are in my position that have a life thing. They're dead. They haven't lived. They have gotten themselves into drugs. If you don't look at any minority, it doesn't fit into the system. And I could have ended up on drugs, dead, giving up, being a victim.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I must say that, because people think the system says, oh, you can just choose. Bullshit. I didn't choose that. That happened to me. My spirit is very strong. That is a part of me. But if I had a weaker spirit, I would have been dead. And that's why I say we have to, it's not forgiving. We have to understand the preciousness of life.
Yeah.
And that it is not just, systemic. You can make a choice, a mindset. Fuck mindsets.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, a mindset, mindset this, mindset this, leadership coaching. The people don't even know what a leader is. Look at how much leadership coaching you have.
But just
it's insane.
A little bit. What is the difference, in your opinion, between having a strong spirit and having a weak spirit? Like, what's the missing?
You're born with it. You have if you would know that, if I would, it just happened. You experience this life as a weak spirit or as a strong spirit, and hopefully in this life you can, because you're a part of nature, grow from that. Because we're always changing. A weak spirit can a strong spirit. A strong spirit has become a weak spirit. You know that when they go into a strong spirit, goes into the system, he blows up. He goes into his ego, your favorite word, and then he dies. Systems. He kills himself or whatever.
Yeah,
and there's Tony Bourdain is the best example. There's a guy that grew up very low, not so middle class, and then exploded. He got everything he wanted, and he was honest in that what he wanted to achieve. He got that, and then he offed himself.
Yeah,
because it's what you imagine systemically you fit in is irrelevant. You gotta be you.
Yeah, that's what it all boils down to.
You gotta be you. You gotta find you in a human context, not in a system context. And that is the problem why we get lost, because we try to find ourselves in a system context.
Yeah. I totally agree. We look for ourselves in the world. The world is unreal anyway. And that just causes us to be more detached from our spirit or the real part of ourselves. I personally think, and I've experienced, what is real within us is always real. And so I kind of disagree that we're just born with a weak spirit or a strong spirit. I think we all have a strong spirit all the time, but the problem is some of us, because of our life experience, we get conditioned to believe that spirit is dwindled or that the flame has gone out or whatever you want to say. But actually, that is just a state of disconnection that we have learned ultimately. And it's partly because of the system. It's partly because of our families. It's partly because of all the bullshit that we hypnotize ourselves with and the beliefs that we pick up and the stories we tell ourselves, all that stuff. But all of those things are
no.
Go on.
Because then you would say it's my fault that because I was a sick child. I couldn't fit into any system. You say it's my fault that I got strong? Bullshit. I had no idea. I had no idea that I had absolutely no idea that I will survive over anything. I lived in the moment because I had to, because I couldn't breathe. I was always forced in the moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning things or whatever. And if you say everybody's the same, your system, that's a system answer. And nobody's the same. Nobody has a strong system. Everybody is unique.
Yeah, you already agreed though, right? So reality ultimately is just wholeness. That's it, right? And so that applies to the reality of us as individuals as well. So the expression of that wholeness is obviously different. We have different bodies, we have different life experiences, blah, blah,
exactly,
blah. But the wholeness is wholeness. It's always the same. There's no escaping that. And
I agree with that.
Yeah. And you can't lose it. And so, maybe you get sick or something and, you're having a bad day. Personally, in my own life, like I've been really sick as well. And it actually, it woke me up. It raised my awareness so that I can see this side of myself, this real whole connection that was there all along. And it's not about saying that, if people are disconnected from that wholeness, then there's something wrong with them. It's just
no. That is the right thing. That's the right thing. We are all connected to the wholeness. Remembering that helps us. But so if we can tell young people like you and I, the old guys, can tell young people, is you are, this is why I always say, know your species of nature. Have an animal that you talk to or interact with that is not, that you can't just say, hey, clean the dishes. Learn, because you hone a pet hones your senses, So you are part of nature, and never forget that. And in the system, we all play Monopoly. That's fine. We all agree that we play on that Monopoly thing. But you are a part of nature, and your wholeness you find through the nature, because nature is perfect.
Yeah,
it is perfect. It doesn't have to. We have now 2,000 elephants more. It doesn't. Like I said, the lion doesn't go on the thing and say, "Okay, I have to kill every gazelle on this savannah because I need some food tomorrow." That's a mind construct that an animal doesn't have. He kills it, eats it, and then an hour later, a gazelle is like, 5 yards from him and grazing, because the gazelle is in touch with the lion that he's full. So he's not a threat to her. So, or him, So it's our natural ways. We have everything, but to be in the human habitat, believing that the human habitat is a system, because we are born in a hospital, we are baptized, we are in school. That's conditioning.
Yeah.
They tell you, and because you learn what it is to be from 0 to 7, you learn to be what it is to be human. And then from 7, you learn how to interact with a bigger family than your family. You get taught the wrong things. Because you're getting conditioned for financial, for the system. Ollie, what are you? Where am I going to put Ollie? I don't know. He's going to be a steel worker. Okay. And I program you to a steel worker because we need steel workers.
Yeah.
That you want to be an artist, that you want to be a writer, that you want to be a podcaster. I don't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. The system is designed according to what the economy needs and blah, blah, blah. And you either become aware of that and you wake up, or you don't, and then you have this restless feeling inside of your whole life because the real version of you, that wholeness, never got an expression. That's ultimately, I guess, what we're saying. We've been talking for nearly an hour. It's flown by. Have you got any final words to sum up this conversation? Like, obviously, we've been all over the place.
Yeah.
But
I have a question that just came to me. Is that what is? And I don't even know how to verbalize it, but help me with this. I say, what is it? What is the justification that we are a part of nature? You can't disagree. We are not a part of nature, right? So we are part of nature. Nature is perfect. Yeah. Why do people not have a shelter and enough food to eat when we throw almost 2/3 of food away? What is the human explanation? I'm not caring about the system explanation. Okay. What is the human explanation why we should have people die in poverty? Because right now it doesn't matter. The billionaire as well as the beggar all worry about money. They both worry about the same thing, money. The beggar to get it, the millionaires to lose it, not to live his life anymore. So what is the human reason why there should not people have, every human being should have enough food, a shelter? I'm not saying a castle. I'm saying enough shelter that he can shelter. That he can choose to find himself in work or find himself where to fit in. You don't have that choice anymore. You get today when you go in school, you don't even know how to survive. You're growing up with a deficiency. And financial principle is conditioning. It's always not enough. Every quarter you need to make more, better, and that's not natural either. That is not natural. So my question is, what is the human explanation why not every human being should have food and shelter and medical care?
Like, obviously, I've got some ideas I could throw out there. I don't know if you
throw it.
It's ultimately, like, I'm trying to keep this simple. Obviously, there's the idea that scarcity is part of nature, right? Nature actually is not scarce in any way, shape, or form.
No. You show me where scarcity in nature.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, nature is abundant, right? The system makes scarcity a thing.
Yeah,
So that's caused people to have more fear around these kind of things. But the other thing, I think, in nature, it's not all up to us. This is the thing, right? In nature, we are interdependent. It's about other beings, tribal creatures working together, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. It's about the relationship between us and life. And the relationship between you and life means, again, you have to take my favorite word out of the equation. You have to take your ego out of the equation. If you want to acquire food or shelter or whatever, there is an element of, I don't want to say coincidence, but there are certain elements that you cannot control. It's up to fate or destiny in a way for you to be able to acquire the things that you need to acquire. And in nature, you either keep acquiring those things, so it seems like fate is on your side, or you don't acquire those things and then you eventually die. But if you keep getting the things because of this abundance that you're tapped into, then you have to see that it is not just up to you. You might come up with a plan. I'm going to go out and I'm going to hunt a saber-toothed tiger, whatever it is. But that plan is just the best plan that you have currently been able to come up with because of your ego ultimately and what you think is going to happen. And so the more attached you are to that plan, the more your ego is involved. But actually, when you get out there and you start living a real life and you become attached to nature again, or attuned to nature, sorry, not attached, you realize that is, you can't do it that way. That is scarcity thinking again, thinking that it's totally up to you, that you are the only one in control of your life. And so I think the reason so many people are impoverished and so on and so forth is because we have bought into this systemic bullshit thing that it's up to us and nobody else, when actually it's about life or God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. It's way bigger than just one person being in control of their lives. And so I would say it's something to do with that. And I don't know if that's opening a can of worms.
No, we are not built to be in scarcity. The only fear you should have is when the saber-tooth tiger is in front of your cave, or you almost get hit by a bus. The fear is, that's what it's an alarmist, and we are 90% systems say 90% interferes, and this is why I said at the beginning, you cannot fix a system problem with a system solution. You and I have to talk to each other, to become aware. If you and I wouldn't have talked to each other, because we both became very much aware, but second superpower, dialogue, human dialogue, not system dialogue. I'm right, you're wrong. So we that's the second, first creativity, dialogue second, third adaptability.
Wow.
And if we need to be, you said it, we need to be aware, and we need to be aware that we are built for inclusion. We're not built for
And one final thing I want to throw in there is this idea of trust. So earlier on, when I was ranting about, the world versus reality, I said something like, ultimately, reality, wholeness, from our limited human vantage point, is chaos. It's about uncertainty, and we can't understand every little step in the chain of cause and effect. So we don't have all of the information. Things don't make sense sometimes, even though in nature, in reality, everything is perfect. It doesn't always seem that way when
we're not aware. We're not aware.
Exactly. And so the missing ingredient really between the world and reality is trust. That's what I think, right? When you've been real, when you understand about wholeness and you've got this awareness that we're talking about, even though you don't, you're not omniscient, you don't understand everything, you can, conceptually at least, you still have the trust that things are going to work out. You trust the chaos of nature. You trust the chaos of life. You trust the chaos of wholeness. The system is not built around that kind of trust. The system in general is built as a reaction to not trusting life. And so you try to control it at every level. And you can't do that. And when you build a system like that, and it goes, from one generation to the next, people just become less and less trusting of life itself. And that's what causes causes a lot of these issues that we've been kind of alluding to.
I would exchange the two words. I would say trust is awareness, because you can't trust ever if you're not aware.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. And I would chase chaos with uncertainty. Chaos is a system word. Both are system words. Trust us because we give you insurance. There are system words. You need to also do a vernacular to human. I'm going to write in this book that's coming out. I'm going to do all the vernacular, because when I hear chaos, I cringe. When I hear trust, I cringe, because they're both systemic. They're not human. Trust you. It's easy for me to trust if I'm aware this is going to happen, or this is if I trust gravity.
That's the thing.
Because I'm aware of gravity. You understand?
Yeah.
And if chaos means, it's so tainted, that it's so systemically tainted chaos. It's like, who wants to be chaos? Nature is not in chaos, in harmony.
Yeah.
It's uncertain though.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I have also the word with the ego,
Yeah.
Because it's, so your vernacular, if you are the master of everybody, If you adapt your vernacular to human versus system, even this, see, I mean, this is great that you are that way, because we become aware, shit, we use the wrong words, or, we use better words, boom. And all of a sudden it works. So hang on to the human, because you are human and you're aware of human is the power. So human relevance is it.
Yeah. But again, like we're gonna have to wrap this up in a few minutes. But just as a final kind of thing to throw out there, like
I love you. Just keep. we can do this again. All your questions up.
We could go on for a long time, but like ultimately though, there's a reality shaped way of doing things, and there's like an anthropocentric way of doing things, where we say that human beings are the end of the line. That is still it's an almost I keep using the word because I think this word works. It's an egotistical way of doing it, like saying that it's all about humanism or being human shaped, or that everything needs to be filtered through the lens of the human animal and the way that it perceives and understands things. That is it's still bullshit. It's bullshit. Like, actually, it's about understanding the human nature so that you can kind of experience something more than that to the greatest extent possible. And I know that sounds like a bit of a paradox, but it's about understanding that the universe does not revolve around human beings. Like, human beings are amazing. We're part of nature as a system, or whatever word you want to use. But if we think that everything has to be under human volition or human control, that's when we end up screwing ourselves over. It's about knowing.
That's the shiny object syndrome.
And exactly, that's it.
Oh my God, we built London. We must be kings. We built New York. We must be.
But
the godlike.
It's ego again. It's bullshit. That's what I wanted to say earlier. So when you mentioned the shiny object syndrome earlier, actually the shiniest object to human beings right now in this day and age is human beings. And we're looking at it. But we're not that shiny, and we're not that special, and we're not that interesting. We're all amazing, and we can have amazing lives and do amazing things. But that way of thinking it'll fuck your life up, basically. And so it's about transcending that and giving your life to something bigger. And it can be anything. Like, some people, they give their lives to God. You can give your life to nature, the universe. It can be certain values. It doesn't matter. You need to find something bigger, give it to that, and then the system won't affect you as much, because the system is never bigger than any human, and human beings. Human beings aren't shit anyway. So, like, if you first you give to the system, then to humanity, then something bigger, and that's only what that is. So that's my little rant about that. How are we going to finish this conversation? So normally it's about 45 minutes.
Saying systems don't work without humans. And humans work without systems, even though we have a harder time to work without system. But nothing works without human. No sales, no. I see it in restaurants. People have their concept and whatever. I said, you're always dependent. You can have the best food. You can have the best waiters. You have the best chef. You have everybody. If the server doesn't put a spoon in something, or doesn't do, drops at you, or is drunk, all this stuff thing. And the guest relationship is also human. So humans define the experience. So it's not about the best chef and whatever. It's about the whole experience. Always the whole. So the team, the waiter is exactly as much, the dishwasher is exactly as much worth than the manager and the money giver. You have to create the inclusion of the team and have a horizontal conversation. Everybody knows anyway that is the owner. You don't need to think, but you have to function as a team. And when we function as a team, like you and I right now, we're wrapping it up, right? So it's always a together. It's never you're an idiot. You don't know, It's just everything just is. So thank you, Ollie. And you can reach me on michaelm.com. Michael with 2 L's, michaelm.com. And we can do this anytime.
Awesome. I'll share your link in the show notes. But
Yeah.
thank you for this conversation. You've given me a lot to think about. Hopefully, vice
Yeah.
versa, maybe. And
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you again 100% sometime soon.
Yeah. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it.